if you look at our spending in America, I think it's important to know where money is going in the country. 60% of all of our federal outlays are for mandatory spending, all right? So that's Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, interest on the debt, and then other mandatory spending, like food stamps will fall into there, but that's 60% of every dollar that's spent. And then the other 40% can almost be broken into two halves, 20% and 20%. That 20% is military spending, and then the other 20% is non-defense discretionary spending. And what that is basically every agency that you think of as government. It's the Department of Education, the Department of Energy, EPA, DOJ, Health and Human Services, all the other agencies really fall into 20% of spending. And today, we borrow 42 cents of every dollar that we spend. All right? And so this year, we're going to have a $1.6 trillion national deficit. We're going to borrow $1.6 trillion this year. Our current national debt is $14 trillion. And to break that down, it's over $45,000 for every man, woman, and child. So I have a little one-year-old, Maria Victoria. Her portion of the national debt is $45,000. If you look back last year, we borrowed over $1 trillion. The year before that, we borrowed over $1 trillion. If you look 10 years out, every year, on average, we're going to borrow $1 trillion every year for 10 years. And I guess I want to talk about that because I think that poses a great risk to our country. I don't think it's sustainable. And I think what has to happen is we have to come together as a community and as a country to figure out how we're going to fix it. And I think one of the issues that we face as a country is most people don't understand the problem exists. And so I want to talk about what I see as the problem. This chart right here is from the Congressional Budget Office, not partisan. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be straight up with you. And I'm going to tell you that if I wanted to get all of your votes, I might come in and say, you can have the sun and the moon and the stars, and I can get money from you from Washington, D.C. We don't have to scale anything back. It's all great, and the picture is rosy. Vote for me. I'm not going to do that. I think my job is more important than that. I'm going to come and level with you. I'm going to tell you what I've seen and what I've heard, and then we can have a good conversation, and you're open to disagree with me, and we'll have a yay old time. Okay, so if you look at this next chart, you might have seen this one before, but this is also a chart from the Congressional Budget Office. This goes from 1941 out to 2081, all right? And this compares debt to GDP, gross domestic product. And you can see in World War II, we had over 100% of debt to GDP. We borrowed a lot of money. We were at war. But most of that money was borrowed from American citizens. We had war bonds, right? We borrowed from American citizens. And, you know, we finished the war, we expanded, we paid it down. You see that in the 80s, we bumped up again. Reagan spent money on the military in the Cold War. Came back up, nowhere near 100% though. Came down in the 90s. But over the last couple of years, we've had a significant spike. And as you project out, this is what the CBO does if we continue with current policy, where our debt is going to go. It is a sea of red. This is massive debt. And I guess I would suggest to you that we can't continue on this course, because if we do, this is going to mean inflation. This is going to be higher interest rates. This is going to be less opportunity and less prosperity for our country. And basically, this is what we leave off to the next generation. So I would submit to all of you that I think we have to change course. We can't let this be the future for our next generation. And there are some plans in place. There are some different plans, but this can be addressed. This doesn't have to be our future. A lot of folks go, well, who do we borrow our money from? Well, in 1970, 5% of our debt was held by foreign entities. Okay? In 1990, 19% of our debt was held by foreign entities. And today, 47% of our debt is held by foreign entities. And if we're going to look at all the foreign entities that hold our debt, what country do you think holds the biggest percentage of our debt? China. China owns 29.2% of our national debt. Japan comes in second at 19.9%. Then we have the UK, Brazil, Taiwan, Russia, and then a mishmash of other countries that are also at 29% when you add them all together. But China is the one that borrows us the most money. And if you look at what's happening with this debt, if you saw with this chart, we pay $202 billion currently a year in interest payments. And if you also think right now, we are at historic low interest rates. This is at historic low rates right now. If we start to see inflation hit, where we were just talking here in the back row, if you look at energy prices, if you look at food prices, I think inflation is not far around the corner. We start to pay higher interest rates with that. This number is going to skyrocket. It's going to be a far larger share of the pie if interest rates go up. But it's a massive transfer of wealth. We pay enough interest every week to the Chinese that would be sufficient, if they wanted, for the Chinese to buy 3 U.S. strike fighter jets and have $50 million remaining. That's how much money we pay in interest to the Chinese to service the debt that they own of ours. Sufficient, they could buy 3 new U.S. strike fighter jets a week and have $50 million remaining. It is a massive transfer of wealth that's taking place right now, as well as, and I'm sure I'm going to get a question on energy later on, but also there's a massive transfer of wealth in energy as we drive a ton of money over to the Middle East in regard to energy costs. You have maybe heard recently in regard to the budget debates that have been taking place in Washington. The House Budget Committee came out with a proposal to handle and deal with this problem of the sea of red that's going to come, all right? There was a proposal. Paul Ryan is the chairman of the committee that put this proposal together. And I want to talk to you about that because I think there's some misinformation out there. And again, I'm going to level with you. I'm going to tell you what I think I see happening here, and I'll ask questions about it after I tell you what the proposal is. But first off, in Congressman Ryan's chairmanship and through his committee, they make a proposal where we are going to reduce spending down right below 2008 levels. All right? So we're going to kick back to 2008 levels. And we're going to cap it there for 5 years. All right? We're going to freeze that federal spending on the non-defense discretionary side. And from there, there's the belief that we can cut spending by $6.2 trillion as compared to the president's, I think it was his fiscal year 12 budget, fiscal year 11 budget. And if you just compare it to current spending, we would cut $5.8 trillion over the course of 10 years, okay? That's the cutting side, or the reducing spending and the freezing side on what we save. He talks about tax reform. So what they want to do is bring taxes down from the highest rate of 35% down to 25%. And many of you might go, well, whoa, what are you going to do? We have a spending, we have a problem with revenue. Why would you reduce your tax rates to 25%, right? Well, with that, the proposal is we're going to get rid of a ton of the loopholes and the nooks and crannies in a 10,000-page tax code where businesses who make an incredible amount of money are able to hide their money from Uncle Sam. So it's going to be a fairer, flatter tax code. And if you look even at GE, recently we heard 3 weeks ago, GE didn't pay any taxes in. We have corporate welfare going on. There's nooks and crannies in the tax code that allow these people to hide their money. They don't pay 35% on those dollars. They pay far less than that. Let's get rid of all these dark holes where money is hidden. Let's shine light on the process, bring it down, and have people pay 25% instead of paying nothing. That's the proposal there.